We're back in session. We now move on to discussion item 9, consideration of Ramona Public Cemetery Trust resolution requesting expansion of Board of Trustees from 3 to 5 members. We'll begin with public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 9 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1 e-comment in support. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 9 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Truth, Mark, and allegedly Audra. I've called your name. Please come forward.
Hello, I just had some gelato that I had to leave outside. So how this headline reads to me is that Joel is denying backcountry request.
And if you could please state your name.
Oh, it's Truth if you didn't know. I'm sorry, Andrew. Obviously, I'm not in a rush for this 2 minutes or whatever. What was I going to say? Oh, what I noticed is if this is a denial, it kind of reminds me of the pattern that we've seen today of Joel not representing the backcountry. Seems like a pattern. But I'll ask, did Ramona's population increase to justify an increase in the Ramona Public Cemetery District trustees? Does this district have a perfect attendance record of always meeting quorum? Does this district often come to a tie vote and believe more members would help break that? Is this district overseeing a pet cemetery and so need more members out of fear of them coming back from the dead? We gotta have fun somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, so too bad, 2 minutes on a topic. So we'll never know the inside scoop of how the people they would select will help or harm Ramona. The Ramona Cemetery, I guess it's got 3 board members. They're suggesting 5. I think Joel is saying he doesn't want that. Unfortunately, I don't really trust Joel, so I don't know. I mean, maybe he is trying to do the right thing. I simply don't know the backstory on that or how it would be affected by having new members. And, you know, the only one who would know maybe is Joel himself, and he's going to tell if it's something bad that he's doing. So who can say? In general, though, changes always tend to be for the worst. Just constantly, consistently, you can pretty much guarantee if you guys are doing it, it's bad.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. Yeah, it's interesting. It's for a cemetery district, so probably isn't more people, and that's why, because people are dying, and that's why you need it. But yeah, it's just interesting because who knows why Joel doesn't want to do it. But as far as having 2 or 3 to 5 members, is it really going to matter? Because like if this board was 3 members, it'd be the 3 Jezebels, and we'd have more of the same. But even if you add 2 more, I mean, nothing really changes. So it's like, really, doesn't it make a difference? And I really feel like there's a lot more important things to talk about than this. But you guys don't seem to like to address things. You like to hide things. You like to tear apart families. And yes, I will continue to say it until you guys do something about it, because then you know what else you do? You allow your workers in CPS and CWS to go and alienate mothers, right? So they don't have any support where they could, you know, really stand up for themselves. So they have to, you know, take that away. And then, you know, when there's children that are reporting sexual abuse, like actual people, that people should look into, and that their, you know, vagina hurts, again, for a second time. But, you know, That's just like a mom wanting to have her daughter be examined for that. But you know what happens if that little girl tells a caseworker something like that, or so they say? Then it's a reason to, increase supervision with a visit and barge into bathrooms when people are trying to go to the bathroom unannounced. It's good. And what's even better is your partnership with Radies. Yeah, because then we can omit things. But it's interesting that a report would say that we cannot confirm or deny sexual abuse, but you know what the agency says? There is no abuse. I'll be back.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We will begin with our first caller.
Life is funny, ain't it? I have no idea what the hell you guys think you're going to accomplish and all that stuff. You do realize that you guys pushing the bills and all that stuff, your name is going to be on it, and when people are pissed, they're going to be pissed off at you. I really don't like the fact that the city of San Diego is suing 11 people over the flooding, that they refuse to go ahead and clear out the storm drains or do anything about our infrastructure. But they're going to go ahead and punish the people because, they're not going to accept responsibility because we no longer need to go ahead and check for accountability with the county, right? I mean, how hard would it be just to take a look at the signatures that I told you to take a look at? No, you refuse to do that because you don't want to know the truth. You want to act like you're stupid. You want to act like you're ignorant. You want to act like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But at the same time, you're willing to go ahead and file restraining order, send cops to my door, do everything you can to go ahead and silence me. How much money have you spent trying to silence me where you could have just looked at the files that I told you to look at, to go ahead and identify the fraud that I told you was there? But you refuse to go ahead and do that. You were expecting someone else to do it, and I hope to hell I hope that you guys go ahead and cause Trump a little bit of heartache, that way that he wants to come back with a vengeance against you guys and use your silencing me to throw you in jail. See, my goal was to make sure that you were held to accountability. And it looks like if Biden gets accountability, the likelihood of you guys getting accountability goes up exponentially. So you could go ahead and think that NBRA, ACLU is protecting you against getting discovered election fraud. But because you guys are denying me even looking at...
Thank you. For the record, the speaker is Gambler Hermes. We'll hear from the next caller.
My name is Andrea Ebbing, and at least $2 million has gone into silencing me as well. I love Ramona. It's dear to my heart. I almost wound up in their cemetery as well when I was recovering from an attempted murder that our district attorney, Summer Steffen, covered for her opioid-involved district county contracted rehab owner, my ex. My children were abducted. I had my head slammed against the wall while being strangled, causing an aneurysm which ruptured due to the stress of not being able to access the law in San Diego. Instead, while I exposed what was happening, and I will not stop, it chose to spend $2 million silencing me as well. But that was a huge mistake, wasn't it? Because I'm coming here to tell everyone what happened, and I will be elevating this to a platform that the people will decide on. You'll see. I'll be at the table. I'll be at the table making decisions. I'm going to be in everybody's side on the corruption that's taking place. So if there are 2 additional people that are to be voted on, I would just say track as closely as you can, as close as they are to Summer Steffen, because the closer they are to Summer Steffen, the more the corrupt they are. The less they are, the better they are. So 2 more people might be a good decision to diversify the decision-making, and hopefully kill less mothers and rape less children, because clearly not only are my children raped, but several other people's as well. And the people that are doing it, like the rehab owner I mentioned and his partner Prakash Bhatia, named in Nancy Sussman's lawsuit, Nancy Sussman versus Summer Steffen et al., You guys had a high-speed chase scenario created for a mother that just lost her son because she was an attorney and a whistleblower. That was a really poor decision because it all came back to haunt everyone because Prakash Bhattia's home is where the felony assault took place.
And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you very much. So, by the way, I appointed these 3 board members. They're outstanding citizens. They are really pillars in the community, and I'm so happy for the work they're doing, but they're off base on this, and I just want to bring you up to speed on it. This was a board that we had a lot of problems with. The previous board had voted to give themselves health benefits. There are only 4 employees of this district. Their budget's around 400 grand, just over that. They have 1 part-time employee, 3 hourly employees, and 1 supervisor. That's salaried. When you look at the standard public cemeteries throughout California, this is all of them are 3 that are comparable to this size. Within San Diego County, Palmerado and North County cemetery districts operate effectively under a 3-member board. State law allows them to be either 3 or 5, but having a board member for every employee seemed a little excessive to me. What would make most sense, and what I'm urging them to do, is to look at merging with the water district. The water district has economies of scale. They have groundskeepers. They have equipment. The cemetery's equipment is getting aged. They're going to have to spend what little money they have in new equipment. It just makes more sense for that community to have the water district overseeing the cemetery. Plus, you know, every time they have a meeting, they have to pay for an attorney to be there. They have legal costs. They have all sorts of items that would be normally in the cost of a water district meeting. So more money would be delivered to the community if they move towards having, now it's got to go through a LAFCO process, it's got to go through a few things, but that's the direction I'd prefer to see it go, because I think it makes the most sense for the community. For those reasons, I'm recommending that we deny the request and retain the district as a current 3 board member with some encouragement that we'd like to see them merge with the water district that's up there already. These 3 members are outstanding citizens. They offered to do this job without per diem. They offered just to give back to the community. Their heart and their rationale is to put the community first. But these are 3 board members. We had 3 previously who took advantage of the system. So we don't make rules based on whether the person's a good person or not. We make rules so that any citizen who fills that position does it well. So with that, I'm asking that we decline it. While it's good intentioned, I won't be supporting it today.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from any of my colleagues? I'll just make a comment. I appreciate, Supervisor Anderson, that you're paying careful attention to this item and to this matter, and appreciate your recommendation, so thank you. I'm happy to second your, Joel, sorry, Supervisor Anderson, did you?
That's a motion. Thank
It's a motion, okay. Happy to second, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. No.
If that's what you want to vote.
No. You're voting in favor of your motion to deny her.
Oh, well, I'm screwed up. You're right, I'm wrong.
We're voting, sorry, just to make sure everyone's clear. We're voting in favor of Supervisor Anderson's motion to deny this request.
Yes.
So a yes is a no.
Supervisor.
Sorry, I'm still a rookie.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 10. So we will begin with discussion item 10, protecting small businesses and workers. Know your rights when ICE arrives. I had a video I actually wanted to play. I wasn't sure if my team was ready for that or you wanted to go to start with public comment. You ready? Okay, please go ahead.
This restaurant behind me would be packed with customers, but today it was forced to shut down after chaos unfolded during an operation by federal authorities. Now, employees I spoke with told me that they detained several workers. Right now, we're working to confirm the exact number. This was the chaotic scene of an operation by Homeland Security investigations as they swept through this restaurant at the corner of Beach and 30th Street. Heavily armed agents can be seen in full tactical gear as cars block the streets off. In this video, you can hear loud booms and sirens as community members surrounded their cars. Pedro Rios with American Friends Service Committee was there and watched as people were taken away in handcuffs.
The agents fired sound grenades, flashbang grenades at the crowd.
Claire Cody works at Buena Forcheta. She had just clocked in for her shift at about 4:30 Friday afternoon when she says several men in trucks went inside saying they had a search warrant. Claire says agents put employees in handcuffs to check their ID.
There was no stopping them. There was like 30 ICE. There was 30 of them. I mean, we were just all in shock. They just came at a time where it was so unexpected.
Before the restaurant opened up for dinner, staff put up this close sign. Claire says employees here are all like a big family and they're heartbroken.
They took people. They took some of our employees.
Immigrants, not hate. That's what makes America great.
Meanwhile, outside the restaurant, the community pushed back.
It was quite clear that there was just a complete rejection by the community of the federal agents of conducting this in their community and neighborhood.
And I did reach out to the Department of Homeland Security to find out more information about this operation, and I'm still waiting to hear back. For now, Esmeralda Perez, CBS 8.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrer.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is my item. Is going to make a couple introductory remarks. Then we can go to public comment. Then we can have some time for board discussion. I just want to thank the small business owners and workers and community members who've been standing up on this issue. This item is really focused on protecting our local businesses, our local economy, defending workplace rights, and keeping San Diego's local economy strong. Small businesses power San Diego's economic region. We have nearly 380,000 businesses that support jobs and communities across the county. These indiscriminate raids on our small businesses throughout the region shows what happens when our community and our businesses are left without guidance. The risks are rising. H.R. 1 passed the largest increase in ICE funding in United States history, which will inevitably escalate these raids on our business community and workplaces. Without action to protect rights and due process, more local businesses will be caught off guard, more workers will be put at risk, and more communities will suffer unnecessary harm. The federal government claims that these raids target criminals, but the data tells a different story. This year, more than half of ICE DHS arrests in San Diego have involved individuals with no criminal record. Local businesses and law-abiding workers are being targeted, not dangerous criminals. Undocumented workers make up an estimated 1 in every 13 workers in California, contributing over $180 billion annually to the state's GDP, including tens of billions here in San Diego County. These are folks who pay taxes, raise families, and build our cities quietly and courageously. Every business owner and every worker has rights. Due process does not disappear just based on where you're born or if you speak with an accent. The Constitution applies in every workplace. No worker should be dragged out in front of customers without proper due process, and no business should be shut down without cause or clarity. So this proposal calls for proactive action. It calls for launching a small business Know Your Rights training program through the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, OLSE, which can ensure that employers and workers know exactly what to do when ICE or DHS shows up at your door. This program is about defending constitutional rights. It's about due process. It's about ensuring compliance with state labor laws. It's about upholding dignity in the workplace. And it's about protecting our local economy from harm. A San Diego where businesses are prepared, workers are protected, and neighborhoods remain stable is the goal of this program. We're working and fighting to create a county where federal chaos does not disrupt local economies and constitutional rights are upheld in every workplace. So with that, I would like to turn it over to public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 21 requests to speak on this item, 14 in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 15 e-comments, 10 in support, 3 in opposition, and 1 neutral. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 10 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board, and I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I will be calling you in groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Consuelo, and Erica Castillo. If I've called your name, please come forward. And Erica will be followed by Truth, Pam, and Casey Shirk.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Erica Castillo. I'm a small business owner and co-chair of advocacy at Business for Good. Thank you, Supervisor Lawson-Remer, for this proposal to protect our small business community through Know Your Rights preparation training. Business owners and workers have shared with us the fear, confusion, trauma, and financial losses they experience when federal immigration agencies raid their workplaces. I want to be clear, this isn't just impacting our immigrant community members, this is affecting U.S. citizens too. We urge the county to broaden the proposal to include all federal immigration enforcement agencies, not just ICE, and to work closely with business orgs, immigrant rights groups, community partners, and worker advocates in shaping the training. Please also ensure the materials are multilingual, accessible, and trauma-informed. We ask you to vote yes. This is about protecting all San Diegans, workers, employers, customers, and neighborhoods so they can feel safe, supported, and prepared. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. If I've called your name. Truth, Pam, Consuelo.
This item is a joke. During the so-called pandemic, small businesses were locked down with complete disregard of the Constitution by this board and the San Diego City Council, right, Monica? Let me quote this item from page 1 as the words speak truth to the lockdowns. Quote, fear takes over, legal rights get blurred, small business owners who are focused on serving the community and keeping up with payroll are thrown into crisis without a roadmap. Small businesses are the backbone of San Diego's local economy. When they're destabilized, entire communities feel the ripple effects, unquote. Now, you want to protect small businesses. The super sanctuary policy is the cause of the chaos in this county and your hatred for the current federal administration. Cooperation and compliance with immigration detainers enables federal law enforcement to take custody of criminal aliens without community action. This is safer for American communities. And in that training program, please add the right that they have the right to self-deport.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
It's truth.
If people are not supposed to be in this country, they should be deported. They should be deported. Deported. Deported.
Reportedly, a Buena Forqueta restaurant was running a concentration camp, working their illegal workers 13 hours a day with no breaks and at dirt poor wages. The child slave labor on pot farms had $10,000 of human trafficking profits funneled to Newsom's campaign. Is this why politicians want illegals picking crops? One local insider is tipping off activists and the media to when and where ICE operations are going to occur. When are California extremists going to stop terrorizing federal agents by doxing them, threatening their families, looting, and literally fighting them in the streets? Stop trying to create force-filled sanctuaries of crime and a California confederacy of communism. The federal government should investigate anyone who votes to approve any so-called Know Your Rights propaganda pamphlet. Whether anyone supports ICE or hates ICE, the only reason they're here is because you guys declared it a sanctuary county. So thank you for bringing ICE here. I actually thanked CBP earlier when I saw them.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
All right, hello, my name is Casey Shirk. I am a proud SEIU Local 221 member and a county employee of 1.5 years at the Health and Human Services Agency. I am here today to support item 10, which brings forward a Know Your Rights program for businesses, including immigration raids. I'm glad the county is taking action, but public workplaces need these protections too. My coworkers and I have already been questioning what to do in an event of an ICE raid, and we're talking as when rather than if. The anticipation alone is giving our workers more stress on top of the stress of our usual caseload, and our clients feel it too. They can hear it in our voices. We want training and resources for county work sites, multilingual guidance available to all employees, a commitment to dignity and safety for immigrant workers. SEIU stands for justice and safety. These resources are a small step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite 3 additional speakers, allegedly Audra, Rudy Hernandez, and Brenda Nunez.
Consuelo, oh, the hypocrisy. Suddenly the Constitution matters again. Where was that same energy when the families were losing everything? Where was your concern when you stood by and enforced lockdowns and destroyed lives? You didn't care about our rights then. You cared about compliance, control, punishment. Now you want to be guardians of justice? Ha ha. Ridiculous. Let's see. So yeah, it's not about safety, it's about politics, it's about control. You let people get fired, shamed, segregated, muzzled, and locked down, and now you want to protect rights for those who haven't even done the time. Meanwhile, those who did things, who do nothing wrong, are still waiting to have their rights honored. Again, the hypocrisy.
Next speaker, please.
Hello again, this is Rudy, county employee constituent, and I've been seeing what's happening, and I've also read my history books, so unfortunately nothing that's happening is surprising. And unfortunately, I'm also aware of what comes next. With that said, fascism, white supremacy, and their Gestapos do not belong in San Diego County or in our society, point blank simple. Punishing migrants who are at the mercy of an intentionally inefficient government who intentionally keeps their citizenship in limbo rather than expediting the process to grant them an ITIN or a social security number to pay into taxes at the expense of the communities that they serve is morally repugnant and wrong. What I ask is that this information, this training be supported, and to also support our public workplaces such as our libraries, our FRCs, and other public community locations to solidify this message across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite 3 additional speakers, Mark, Katrina Oprisco, and Karina Pugh.
Hi, my name is Brenda Nunez. I'm a proud SEIU member and an HSS employee for over 19 years. I am here to support item number 10, which brings forward Know Your Rights program to small businesses during raids. As an HSS, we work with immigrants' families every day. When ICE shows up, it can cause trauma and fear to everyone, and we should be prepared. I am asking the county to provide this training to your employees as well. Thank you for taking action, and we need to ensure employees have trainings and resources to assist the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mark, there are 1 million illegal immigrants in LA and 2 million people in our entire military. That is an emergency. These people have never been vetted. And I have nothing against, I see people working all around me that are great people. I feel bad for them. But you have to have your boundaries respected. Your RVV states, when federal enforcement actions spiral out of control at San Diego workers, small business owners, and neighborhoods who pay the price, end quote. It should state, when supervisors who are UN pawns open the border causing never before seen or imagined crime against children, citizens, and businesses in order to usher in the borderless and treasonous North American Union, the damage is so catastrophic that no amount of enforcement can actually undo the damage in a mere 4-year period. This news story states, federal officers also arrested at least 361 illegal aliens from both sites in Carpinteria and Camarillo. ICE and CBP arrested violent and dangerous criminals, aliens convicted of rape.
Thank you. Thank you. Mark, your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Katrina Oprisco, Karina Pugh, and I'll call the remaining speakers, Psyche Vargas and Oliver Twist.
Could
Good afternoon. My name is Karina Pugh, pronouns she, her. I am here on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center in firm support of this item. Everyone, including our immigrant community, deserves to know the rights afforded to them by the law. Knowledge is power, and in times of chaos, understanding the options one has in moving forward is an essential part of standing up to a federal government that is stripping our community of their lives and their dignity. Immigrants, including our LGBTQ+ immigrants, deserve to feel as safe as possible in their place of work. That includes educating employers in how to support their employees in times of crisis. Right now, lives are at stake, and this would be a concrete step forward to protecting our most vulnerable communities. It is essential that we keep our communities informed and aware of their rights under the law. Please support this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. I've called your name. Please come forward in any order.
Hi, good afternoon. Oliver Twist, a.k.a. Mary Davis here. I'm here to push back on the narrative that you've crafted. Your own overview says that on May 30th, the 20 armed ICE officers in tactical gear stormed the restaurant, detonated flashbangs, and handcuffed employees in front of families and children. Because the news didn't have time to tell the whole story, I will. I reached out to ICE. They said that they had a federal criminal search warrant that they executed 10 minutes prior to the restaurant's opening. There were no patrons present. They arrested four for illegal presence in the U.S. with a court-authorized warrants. Large crowd formed, surrounded the vehicles, became unruly. Then they deployed the flashbangs. The real question is why, if this tip went in for labor exploitation in 2020, why was that ignored for 4 years under the prior administration? I'm asking your Office of Labor Standards to investigate one for CODA and do their job.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Dr. Sique Calderon Vargas, and I serve as the Director of Latinx Services at the San Diego LGBT Community Center. I'm also a physician working with migrant and border communities in Tijuana. I'm here to strongly support the county's proposal to create Know Your Rights preparedness training for businesses and workers facing the threat of federal immigration enforcement. Every day, I witness the stress and fear that immigrant workers, queer and trans folks, and small business owners carry, many of whom are already navigating trauma, discrimination, and systemic neglect. Expecting them to respond to raids or enforcements without training is not only unjust, it puts lives at risk. This training must address all federal factors, not just ICE, be built hand in hand with trusted community-based organizations, be accessible in multiple languages. This is about care, safety, and justice. Please vote yes. Let's invest in a county where dignity and preparedness go hand in hand.
Thank you. Final call for Cesar Javier, allegedly Audra, and Katrina Oprisco.
My person uses the name Audra. Interesting how you incentivize this, and this is a domino effect of everything that you guys did. And I'm wondering if everyone should identify as an illegal so that you guys will actually give them help, because, I mean, you seem to go lickety-split for these kind of people, but if it's anybody else, you don't really care. And you seem to care about, you know, illegal aliens' families being ripped apart, right? How sad is that? You don't seem to care about these CPS raids that the county engages in, right? You don't care about those families whose children are being tormented by county workers, right? And having them use things that they say to terminate family rights. How cool is that? But it doesn't matter if you're an American, right? But if you're not, then you guys will jump through hoops just to help them. It is so disgusting what you guys do to the families in San Diego County. You're going to hell for it.
We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll begin with our first caller.
Kevin Stevenson. First, I'd like to point out that no one is illegal on stolen land. Second, I would like to say, well, I support this item, that goes without saying. But to push back on what Oliver Twitch was saying earlier, do you believe everything that ICE tells you, honey? Do you think, oh, yeah, let's go talk to the IDF, the guys who are fucking killing innocent people in Gaza and the West Bank, but their side of the story? Oh, in the 1940s, let's ask the Nazis what they think about the Jewish people that they murdered. So this is a stenographer for the regime, and shame yourself. But people who have common sense and don't think that it's right to terrorize people in our communities, you should all support this item. People should know their rights. ICE is the modern-day Gestapo, and frankly, we need to bring back the Nuremberg.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
All above. I think what you need here is an email to the employers basically copying what advice is already available in newspapers or the internet or BoobTube, not spending time, effort, and money on a new letter. The recommendation is to develop and implement a plan. I agree with the develop part, but the implement part may involve misrepresented facts or unreasonable costs, which you should prevent by reviewing the plan. And by the way, we keep stressing the importance of money and boosting political and other fraud and suspect activity. But you, Tara, just noted that this was actually prompted by huge money infusion to ICE. And you did arbitrary COVID lockdowns against people and business alike. So it's not just...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
It is quite disgusting what you guys are willing to overlook and all that stuff just to go ahead and achieve your agenda. You want to go ahead and open the border and you want to go ahead and defend these people. What rights do they have? If they have an order to be kicked out of the country, what rights do they have? Oh, that's right. They have the right to get kicked out of the country. What are you trying to do? Trying to start problems? Try to cause more issues? Instead of working together with the federal government and trying to help out some of these people, you want to go ahead and fight the federal government, which I highly encourage, because this will give me what I'm looking for. Accountability for all four of you regarding the elections, because that also is going to hopefully get addressed. And if we could tie both of these up and get you thrown in jail for a long period of time, I'm more than happy to go ahead and do that. So please, continue going against the federal.
For the record, that speaker was Gambler Hermes. We'll hear from the next caller.
Patricia Mondragon, Regional Policy Manager for Alliance San Diego and South Park resident. Congratulations, Supervisor Aguirre. I, too, am the proud daughter of immigrants. Thank you, Supervisor Lawson-Remer, for introducing this letter. We strongly support the county's proposal to create a Know Your Rights preparedness training for businesses and for workers in response to federal immigration enforcement. Every day, we hear how immigrants and community members are living in fear of sudden, aggressive immigration enforcement action. San Diegans are expected to show up for work, keep their businesses running, serve their customers, and look out for one another, often without knowing their rights or how to prepare for the increasing frequency of these raids. These raids impact everyone, regardless of immigration status or citizenship. We do ask that the program reflect the full scope of all federal agencies involved, including Homeland Security investigations, Border Patrol, FBI, IRS, DEA, that it be...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
My name is Andrea Ebbing, and I do believe people are confused by the messaging that they're getting about coming into this country, specifically into San Diego County. I encourage everybody to go to YouTube and watch San Diego District Attorney Summer Stephan, San Diego Airport Chair Gil Cabrera, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria, intently Raul Campillo and Sean Elo Rivera begging for 120,000 undocumented, unvetted, completely traumatized Afghan refugees. They were doing this for super sanctuary status for the sake of hoping to take a little piece of the federal funding they were looking for. Look for Gil Cabrera's quote about using San Diego's airport as a hub to access the rest of the country for the Afghani government. They're all on their knees, begging, thanking, and rolling around for the Afghani government and for anybody that's willing to come in. Summer Stefan is gloating about how she's built a large Afghani refugee community in San Diego, a new settlement she's...
Thank you. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Before we turn to my colleagues, I just would like to make a motion to move this item forward, and I hope I can count on the support of my colleagues. Supervisor Desmond?
I thought somebody was going to second, but...
Well, I was going to.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm happy to second.
Okay.
And I do have remarks after you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We have a second from Supervisor Aguirre. Go ahead, Supervisor Desmond.
So, to me, it's how do we get here? How did we get to, this kind of chaos that the people are calling this? We wouldn't be in this situation if we hadn't let millions of people come across our border illegally and unvetted during the Biden administration. Millions of people, unvetted, unscreened. This also allowed fentanyl to cross over and to kill over 100,000 people here in the United States. But we wouldn't be here if California weren't a sanctuary state. We wouldn't be here if our local law enforcement were able to enforce immigration laws, but they aren't. They can't by state law. So therefore, the feds are doing it. And these ICE tactics may seem severe, but they're done to protect the law enforcement officers. We got here by not enforcing immigration laws. And when we see immigration law being enforced, actually happening, some are shocked by it. In the past week, ICE has arrested in San Diego County Zhao Yang, convicted first-degree murder. Juan Gerber, 3 counts of lewd or lascivious acts with a child under 14. Ricardo Rodriguez, a repeat offender with convictions for battery, DUI, and illegal entry. And in the U.S., just this weekend, a Border Patrol agent was just shot by somebody here illegally. And we wonder why our law enforcement officers are taking measures, why it took 20 or 30 or whatever the number was that went into that restaurant. And you saw the mob that formed outside. They're doing it to protect themselves, and we are products of our own policies. As far as the agenda item goes, I'm all in favor of people knowing their rights. But what's being asked of in the agenda here is for staff, our chief administrative officer, to develop and implement a small business Know Your Rights training program. Well, I'm not in favor of developing and then implementing it without even knowing what's in it. So just to go straight into implementation, this is something I can't support, and I won't be voting in favor of this item. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Aguirre?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you for bringing this item forward. As the video you showed actually happened in my new district, in District 1, and I want to be very clear, these tactics by ICE have nothing to do with public safety. We had children in a daycare right across the street where those flashbangs were being deployed that had to be evacuated from the daycare. We had ICE agents with weapons used in wars being brandished in front of families who were just going to dinner in that evening. So I think that having this program and being able to support small businesses on what their rights are, especially when we're seeing practices where there isn't due process taking place, is something that we need to have. And actually, my question would be to staff is if this is something that we could potentially replicate to help support some of our county employees, as was stated in the comments.
Thank you. Through the chair, Supervisor Aguirre, yes, we have rolled out training to our public counters, and we will certainly connect with the individuals that were here. Thank you for expressing your concern to make sure that that training information is rolled out. Absolutely.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is, I think, a practical and necessary action in this moment. It protects workers, the jobs that represent their livelihood, our local economy, and it will make our community safer via the reduction of confusion and fear, and I'm very happy to support this item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a question for our CAO. Do you need a formal amendment to ensure that this is applied to our county workforce, or is this something we can make sure is underway?
Thank you for that clarification. I don't need any formal motion. This is training that we've already rolled out. We will reissue this training to make sure that we are making sure that we're reaching everyone consistently.
Okay, great. Thank you. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the flag. I just want to kind of comment on this, the really troubling sort of like red herring around this being targeted at folks who have a criminal record. Obviously, if you have a criminal record, the ICE can get a judicial warrant, and then they come in and they can deport someone. This entire bill is about ensuring that those kinds of basic due process rights are protected, and that we don't just have people being rounded up randomly in raids. So obviously, I stand very strongly in support of our public safety officers who do work really hard to protect our community, and we need to continue doing so. And we need to continue focusing on protecting our community and not diluting our focus and diluting our resource to rounding up law-abiding citizens who have every right to be in this country and deporting them to secret jails in El Salvador. So fundamentally, this is about due process, this is about the Constitution, and this is about fairness for everyone and ensuring that our small businesses are equipped with the tools that they need to be able to operate in a just and fair way and not be intimidated by federal government overreach. So I just wanted to make that very, very clear. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to say that I appreciate you bringing this forward. In watching this raid and watching some of the other arrests in the clip there were unmarked cars, there were masked officers. This is the administration, the federal administration stand strong with what they're doing, and I think that they should do it without cowardice, mask, and they should identify themselves. And that's part of what is so scary about this, and what makes it very, very shady. And not official, even though I know the directive is official, people voted for that in this nation. But the way that these raids are being conducted, in my mind, the cruelty and the intimidation is the point. The point is not for public safety. And so, I am happy to support this. I think just the fact that we need to continue to say that we are an entire community, and when something like this happens, immigrants, refugees are impacted, U.S. citizens are also impacted, children were impacted, seniors are impacted, and that is the reality that we're dealing with right now. So trainings like this are very, very important for members of our community. Small business owners really put a lot into our communities, and they sacrifice a lot. And so having this support for them that the county will be providing is something that I support. I just wanted to say that. Thank you again for bringing this forward, and I do support this item.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
I did a little research, and there's some NGOs and some private firms that provide this information, but there's really no state or federal or any site to go to. If I'm an employer, I've done nothing wrong, I'm playing by the rules, but I'm concerned because I don't know my rights. And will this information be available on our website? So if I'm one of those employers and I don't want to have to hire an attorney to get advice, will I be able to have access to it? Will these classes or whatever we choose to do, will they be open to everyone?
Absolutely. That's absolutely the intent. I see Brandon in the audience. I'm sure he could give us some thoughts on how he intends to implement this, but that's absolutely to make this publicly available to everyone who needs this information so that they have a resource to go to.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer, and thank you, Supervisor Anderson, for the question. Yes, the envisioned plan would be a mix of in-person trainings as well as definitely having trainings available on the website so small business owners can access at their leisure, at their time when they can, because we know how hard it is for small businesses to actually attend in-person events.
I know we like to say small business. I'd like to include all employers. When I started my business, I tried to follow every rule possible, and you had to fill out a 9-9. But I also wanted to give young people, as you know, I love my interns and I love to launch careers, and so I wanted to give 3 high school students an opportunity at a job. And I called the school and said, do you have anybody to recommend? And they sent over some kids. 6 months later, I got a notice from the Social Security that their numbers were bogus in all the information we had filled out. And so I didn't know what the heck to do. And I don't want to get in trouble. I'm trying to do something nice. And yet, on the I-9 form, I believe at the time it was an $8,000 fine. I was living from paycheck to paycheck trying to grow a company that was just an imagination, my imagination put in action. So I want to make sure that if people are playing by the rules, that they have a path and an avenue to get this information. I also need to say that if you're an employer and you're taking advantage of people who are here illegally, that's absolutely wrong. I want ICE to raid you, and I want you to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, especially when we learn that it's child labor. Because those kids, they don't know any better, and they're being taken advantage of. So we have to strike a balance. I think this is as close as we can get to it. Thank you for that, and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Anderson. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Okay, we can go ahead and vote.
Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And now we're moving on to item 8. Ebony, do we have a presentation? Okay. We'll give you all a moment to set up. And you can go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. Matthew Parr, our Director of the Office of Economic and Development and Governmental Affairs, will give you a brief update of the information that was presented on June 24th, along with a few updates that we have learned since the passage of HR 1. So I'll turn it right over to Matthew. Thank you.
Thank you, Ebony. I appreciate the opportunity to share a brief update on what we're tracking at the federal and state level. With approximately half of the county's budget coming from the federal and state budget, actions at these 2 levels of government will undoubtedly impact the county's budget and operations. At the federal level, the Office of Economic Development and Government Affairs, along with the Incident Command Structure, or ICS, is closely monitoring federal actions to analyze their potential impacts on the County of San Diego. I will begin with an update on the federal budget process and the recently signed into law rescissions package, and then I will address the budget reconciliation package and the impact it may have on the county. Now that budget reconciliation has concluded, Congress is taking up the federal budget, also known as the annual appropriations process. The federal fiscal year runs from October 1 to September 30, so we are just 10 weeks away from the end of the federal fiscal year when a new federal budget will be needed or risk a federal government shutdown. Just a quick reminder, Congress was unable to agree on a federal budget last fiscal year, so the federal government is currently operating under a continuing resolution, which expires at the end of the fiscal year on September 30. The annual appropriations process typically begins in February or March of each year with the release of the president's budget. On May 2nd, President Trump released his fiscal year 2026 budget proposal. Just as a reminder, the president's budget indicates the priorities of the administration, but it is not law. Congress ultimately decides on funding levels and bill language, and no Congress has ever fully implemented a president's budget proposal. With that said, President Trump's budget proposal proposes steep cuts to the federal budget, which would cut non-defense programs, including housing and healthcare, by $163 billion or 22.6% over fiscal year 2025 levels. Under housing, President Trump's budget proposal would cut by $27 billion the state rental assistance block grant program and would combine rental assistance programs into a state-based formula grant, capping rental assistance at 2 years. President Trump's proposed budget would also cut $3.3 billion from the CDBG program, $1.25 billion from the Home Investment Partnership Program, and $532 million from homeless assistance programs. Under healthcare, President Trump's budget would cut $3.6 billion from the CDC, $17 billion from the NIH, $1 billion from SAMHSA, and $4 billion from the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. If these proposed cuts are enacted as is, there would be significant impacts to the county budget and operations and the clients that we serve. As I mentioned previously, now that the budget reconciliation has concluded, Congress is beginning to mark up and debate the federal appropriations bills. The process is going to take many weeks to play out and will require Democratic support to overcome the 60 votes needed to pass the legislation out of the Senate. Undoubtedly, deals will need to be made, and it is very unlikely that Congress passes President Trump's budget proposal as is. I will continue to keep your board updated on the proposals being debated and the next steps. Impacting the debate over the annual appropriations process is the recently passed rescissions package. And when I say rescissions package, I am referring to legislation enacted at the federal level by Congress to pull back funding previously passed by Congress for a specific purpose in the federal appropriations process. The recently signed into law rescissions package clawed back funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting services and other programs that don't impact the county directly. However, Congress's support of President Trump's efforts to claw back previously passed funding will influence members of Congress as they seek to pass a budget. One common theme is why would Congress debate and pass a federal budget if President Trump is just going to claw that funding back? With more rescission packages on the way, that debate will become larger. On the next slide, I will provide a more detailed update on reconciliation. Reconciliation is a process by which Congress can pass legislation with a simple majority, thereby bypassing the filibuster in the U.S. Senate if the legislation is budgetary in nature. The recently passed reconciliation package, better known as H.R. 1, extends the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and increases funding for defense and border security. To pay for the tax cuts and new funding, H.R. 1 includes new policies in order to cut billions from social services programs the county administers on behalf of the state. And speaking of the state, we're also monitoring actions at the state level. What happens at the federal level also directly impacts the state's budget and the state's operations. The state just passed a budget just before the end of the fiscal year on June 30, closing a $12+ billion budget deficit. To close the budget deficit, the state relied on Medi-Cal monthly premiums for individuals ages 19 to 59 with unsatisfactory immigration status, a reinstated Medi-Cal asset limit, and freezing enrollment for full-scope Medi-Cal for undocumented adults. Notably, the state budget does not include any solutions to address cuts from the federal reconciliation package or the federal budget. While the proposals passed by the governor in the May revision to scale back Medi-Cal and IHSS did not fully realize, most are expecting additional action by the state to address the impacts from the reconciliation package. The county's targeted advocacy on IHSS was successful, as nearly all the proposals related to IHSS were rejected by the state legislature. Control language was also included in the enacted state budget to give authority to the director of the Department of Finance to reduce any item of appropriation to address likely reductions and cuts to federal programs. Many see this as a way to address the federal uncertainty without requiring specific state action. However, there still could be a special session to address the federal uncertainty, but a special session is most likely months away. On July 4th, President Trump signed into law H.R. 1, the reconciliation package that has been making its way through Congress over the last several months. As you can see on the slide, there are many notable provisions in H.R. 1 that will impact the county. I have also included their implementation date for reference. The notable provisions are new work requirements for SNAP beneficiaries, and for the first time ever, new state matching funds for SNAP benefits costs, reduced federal funding for SNAP administrative costs, reduced federal support for Medicaid, especially for undocumented individuals, more frequent eligibility checks for Medicaid beneficiaries, new work requirements for Medicaid beneficiaries, and no new or increased Medicaid provider taxes. The bill, which is over 900 pages long, is still being analyzed, and we're learning more each day. While many of the provisions don't need to be implemented right away, proactive planning is critical to ensure we are prepared to address the financial and operational impacts before implementation. In response to your board's action on June 24th to conduct an analysis of the County of San Diego's operational capacity needs in response to the proposed federal and state changes, your office has been sent a memo with the possible impacts to H.R. 1. This memo and the impacts included in the accompanying matrix reflect just a snapshot in time, or what we know today about the bill. As we continue to analyze the bill and its impacts, we will come back to your board with additional information and updates. And finally, while the reconciliation legislation has passed, federal and state uncertainty is likely to continue. The federal budget and the proposals to further reduce federal spending in areas such as housing, healthcare, and even disaster response will continue to keep us vigilant. In the days leading up to the passage of H.R. 1, it also became clear that additional reconciliation packages may have been proposed to secure the votes to pass H.R. 1. We expect additional reconciliation packages to be introduced once the annual appropriations process concludes. These packages will most likely seek additional cuts to federal spending to address concerns over the federal deficit. And also, due to the high cost of the reconciliation bill, additional cuts to federal spending on programs such as Medicare could also automatically take effect through a budgetary process known as sequestration to account for the size of the deficit increase unless Congress acts to waive these requirements. In addition, it has also become increasingly clear that there will be additional rescissions packages coming forward as well to claw back federal spending and realign priorities towards President Trump's agenda. That concludes my presentation, subject to any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do any of my colleagues have any questions, or would you rather just go to public comment and then we can have questions? Public, okay, wait till after public. Okay, we'll begin with public comment and then we can have questions after public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 22 requests to speak on this item, 15 in person and 7 requesting to speak by phone. Also note, we received 3 e-comments, 1 in support and 2 in opposition. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 8 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Again, because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you will have 1 minute to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'll be calling you groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Cesar Javier, Consuelo, and Truth. If I've called your name, please come forward.
It's Truth.
Do you worry at all about drawing the ire of the administration and making San Diego a target? San Diego's already a target.
Knowingly putting San Diego County in jeopardy. Hardcore socialists don't want the Medicare and EBT SNAP fraud, waste, and abuse to be exposed. Wouldn't want anybody to actually work, right, Paloma? The best example of Medi-Cal, Sweetwater Nursing Care received about $300 million of our tax dollars, yet reportedly has seniors neglected and left for dead. The tenant legal aid is 100% political. Renters are exploited by groups like ACE, which work on behalf of Paloma. Tara quit wasting our tax dollars on communist red billboards and slips, ridiculous banner props for your 30-minute monologues on the dais. Look, she's still talking. California's $12 billion deficit from extreme mismanagement is way worse than Trump's one big debt bill. And Biden's record debt is why there's now cuts. Hello. But Tara's got a new tax coming, right? Because just like she always says, this is all political theater. If you guys really cared, you would have told Biden, hey, quit putting us in debt. It's going to cause problems later. Thanks.
As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers: Pam, Casey Shirk, and allegedly Audra. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hello again, my name is Casey Shirk. I am a proud local SEIU Local 221 union member and a county employee of 1.5 years. I am working for the Health and Human Services Agency in the Self-Sufficiency Services Department, so needless to say that this does directly affect me. I am here to speak in support of item 8, which addresses the serious harm that federal cuts will cause if we do not act now. The county already knows this bill will overwhelm departments like self-sufficiency services. We are already on a hiring freeze, and it's positions like mine as an HSS that often have the higher turnover rate anyway. Starting with this conversation now is a good step to a long-term solution, but planning isn't enough. We need real commitment to action. We're asking you to vote yes on developing this comprehensive strategy plan and ensure it leads to real change. Not only should county workers be involved in the conversation on how this affects us, but we need to use the reserves we fought to protect our services and our jobs. Those who have lived through the 2008...
Thank you. We'll call 3 additional speakers, James Callaway, Benjamin Senes, and Rudy Hernandez. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hey, good afternoon. James Callaway, county employee and proud SEIU 221 member. The Republican cuts to services like Medicare and SNAP will devastate the most vulnerable in our community. Let's not sugarcoat it. If this board doesn't act, people will suffer. The mission of this board moving forward should be to do everything in its power to lessen the impacts these cuts will have on recipients and the frontline workers who serve them. It is within this board's power to ensure those who receive these services don't even notice anything has changed. Whether it's opening the reserves or implementing a new wealth tax, nothing should be off the table in trying to accomplish this. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Senes. I'm a proud SEIU Local 221 member and county employee. I've worked at the Northeast Family Resource Center as a human services specialist for over 2 years, and I'm here to speak in support of item 8. The county already knows that the GOP's big, beautiful bill will overwhelm departments like self-sufficiency services, and the SSAB has already submitted a board letter by Supervisor Lawson Reamer, which advised that current staffing levels are already insufficient for maintaining current workloads. I want to thank the board for being proactive in starting this conversation before things get worse, but planning isn't enough. We're asking you to vote yes on developing a comprehensive strategy plan and to include subject matter experts, specifically at least 3 SEIU county workers, to ensure that it includes county workers' voices and that it is actually effective. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite 3 additional speakers, Mark, Natalie Raschke, and John Brady.
Hello, this is Rudy again with SEIU 221, county employee, year and 8 months at this point, actually. So the results of the bill will result in more restrictions for potential recipients and subsequently more work for our workforce, which will result in longer wait time, and that means that people will get less help overall in time. And if my understanding is correct, with this going through, less Medicaid to go around means that people who already pay for their health care will also see a rise in the cost due to the loss of the subsidy. So this does impact everybody, and I hope that everybody does understand that. So I support the board's commitment to developing a strategy and would like to ask for the involvement and the consideration of us union workers, as these changes will affect our jobs and the community that we are serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, I'm not for these cuts. However, you guys are so corrupt that it's just not surprising. This bill is poised to dismantle essential supports for food, housing, and healthcare, just as the community's needs continue to grow. That's your statement. Well, as far as food goes, you guys are making water unaffordable. People really can't grow gardens anymore or help themselves or be self-sufficient. Housing, you just make people rich and spend 50 times as much money as I've recommended for the 3D printed houses that could have been rowed up along the border, killing two birds with one stone. But you don't care about any of that. Healthcare, your idea of healthcare is to let inflation run rampant and make people poor and homeless, and then put them in jail and let the pharmaceutical industries drug them. And about housing, we need to stop inflation, and you never mention that. Have the corporations pay a decent wage.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll invite 3 additional speakers: Karina Pugh, Psyche Vargas, and Oliver Twist.
Okay, so I wasn't going to speak on this, but I decided to because I was reminded how people just get involved when something directly affects them. They come here and they beg you. My name is Consuelo. And they come here to beg when all along they've not been paying attention. Again, what I said, they only come when they're directly affected. And that's not the way, especially now, how to go about living in this big government world. We've allowed all this, and regardless of whatever side you sit on, red, blue, the reality is that we're all everything is falling on all of us, and we're paying for it. We are literally paying for our own enslavement.
Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Karina Pugh. My pronouns are she, her. I'm here in support of this item on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center. As federal funding cuts in the budget reconciliation bill continue to threaten programs that support our most vulnerable populations across the nation, you, as elected leaders of San Diego County, have the opportunity to be bold leaders by adopting this board letter to identify the key budget priorities that preserve services so many San Diegans rely upon. This action will ensure that San Diego County is well prepared to meet the moment, retaining access to these life-saving and life-changing resources, including LGBTQA affirming adult housing services, which have been immensely successful. Thank you for bringing this forward. We ask that you support this to position our region and county as a prepared strategic leader in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Dr. Sique Calderon Vargas. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I strongly support the adoption of this item. With the passage of the big, beautiful bill, we know that this is not the time to cut back on care for vulnerable communities. It's the time to expand it. We must identify key budget priorities that sustain services for people in San Diego, like LGBTQ affirming adult housing spaces. Many in our community are facing growing risks, and the political environment demands a strong, values-based response. Adopting this board letter is a concrete step towards equity, safety, and dignity for those most impacted. Let's act with courage and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'll recall the previously identified speakers: Cesar Javier, allegedly Audra, Natalie Rashke, and John Brady. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi, Mary Davis. Yes, and I had not planned to speak also, but when you cut us to a minute, then I'll use that elsewhere. I just wanted to let you know that every consequence has an action, and you've chosen to thumb your nose at federal law, and then now you should be prepared to reap consequences, and that would include the loss of federal funding. I also want to talk about that the enforcement at restaurants or workplaces. You've set the stage through policy for sanctuary laws. You don't want it at homes and hospitals. You don't want it at schools and churches. So the workplace is really one of the last places left to do that. Again, your own policies have made that happen by default. Lastly, in most base language, I'd like to leave you with this. When you knowingly choose FA, be prepared for a can of whoop FO. Thank you.
The person uses the name Audra, she's dang right. Looks like an F around and find out kind of thing. Just like what your agency did this morning, Kimberly. Yeah. How cool is it to manufacture lies and put it into the courts, right? Engaging in fraud and perjury to get people out of cases because you're terrified of the truth being exposed. You guys think confidentiality, you were worried about that before. You fucked around and you're going to find out that confidentiality went out the window and everything that your agency is doing is going to be exposed. Nicole Montzingo, Chantel Hill, David Miller, the list goes on. All of you guys are fucked because you thought that you were going to do something to protect you guys, because that's all you care about. You don't care about the kids, you care about trafficking them. But welcome to hell.
Can we pause? Just want to remind everyone to please address the board and not to address our staff. Thank you. You should please go ahead and make any comments you need to through the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals I requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Holdovers, make sure you update the facts in the board letters. HR1 is passed, so we're pretty sure what it will do, although minor changes are being made still. This item does not address housing, healthcare, or state cuts either, by the way. While the big, beautiful bill will cut CalFresh and SNAP benefits, we should now know pretty much exactly how this will affect people, and possibly even how to maximize what benefits they have or can obtain to replace these. Like, we now know that CalFresh or SNAP recipients will have to work 20 hours per week up to age 64 instead of 55. No benefits for asylum seekers or immigrant refugees. It also seems that the current level of benefits will continue for a few months.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Monica, you want to talk about overreach? Let's go ahead and talk about overreach. I only had an issue with the people working at the Registrar of Voters, the CAO, primarily Michael Vu and all that stuff. That restraining order overreached, correct? It overreached, and it included everyone, trying to include the Board of Supervisors, at which point, which that restraining order was primarily for you guys, so that you wouldn't answer my questions regarding election security, and you could pretend that you are stupid about it. Unfortunately, you can't, and that your little stunt throwing me in jail for 3 days, all of you except for Pamela was involved in that, that didn't work, right? I was released 3 days later without any court case. Why? Because I have the right to go ahead and give you shit. I have the right to go ahead and talk whatever crap I want to go ahead and say. And if you do not want me to go ahead and start using curse words again, then stop ignoring my phone calls.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. I came today to speak to item 8, responding to the potential federal impacts from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to protect food security. There are some simple county policies that this Board of Supervisors put into place to improve health care of our county residents. The U.S. Surgeon General recently suggested 2 new policies in his 2025 report, and they are Policy 1, adopt smoke-free and vape-free policies for housing and public places, and Policy 2, make smoking and vaping products less appealing and available. The Surgeon General advises that the advertising, promotion, billboards, and sponsorships of smoking and vaping products be highly restricted and out of the sight of children and our young adults, and limit the number and density of retailers of smoking and vaping products, which is tobacco, marijuana, or CBD products. Now is the best time for our Board of Supervisors to hold the line. No more stores.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
My name is Andrea Ebbing, and I did want to follow up with Mark's comment that absolutely the corruption has taken priority, and as a result, we're being penalized. I want to be really clear about vulnerable populations in San Diego. Real clear about that. Vulnerable populations are our children that exist here, any from functional households. Okay, so yes, everybody's affected by the corruption. So also, let's be clear as well, white privilege, I'm white. And let me tell you, I've never been treated more poorly in my entire life by anyone than the county of San Diego and the city of San Diego, who have criminalized, just the actions that are being taken. There are no services. Come on, let's be real. Help for anyone? No. You need a needle sticking out of your arm, and then you'll give us a clean needle, right? You want to give some drug addicts some paraphernalia, use that for tax dollars, and a 15-year wait list in that building. Housing authority.
Thank you. And Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to say I really appreciate the memo by the team. It's really thorough and really very troubling. So I think I wanted to kind of begin by asking some questions regarding what was in this memo and sort of the intersection with the presentation as part of the report back, if that's okay. And then I'm sure my colleagues will also have some questions. There was a couple things that popped out for me. I thought it would be really helpful to just take a moment to make sure I'm fully understanding. It looks to me, just to make sure it's very clear, that immediately, kind of like quite immediately, as soon as guidance is released from USDA, that there could be approximately 13,000 individuals that could lose eligibility for CalFresh, and nearly 100,000 people who will be have new work requirements added. Is this a correct understanding? Looking at 100,000 people that are going to be impacted in terms of CalFresh eligibility.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, in terms of the work requirements, that would apply to about 96,000 individuals per year, and the prohibition on certain immigrants who are eligible to receive affects about 13,000 persons per year.
Okay, and then that was kind of in the food category, and then looking at Medicaid, what I saw, what I think I understood, was that we're looking at work requirements that are going to impact 327,000 San Diegans, plus redeterminations, significant increase in the frequency of redeterminations, and combining the eligibility work requirement assessment plus the significant increase in redeterminations, that we're looking at increasing our county workload by approximately 130,000 cases a year, which looks like at least a 25% increase in caseload just from redeterminations, plus significantly more work just to do the eligibility requirements and around the work requirements. Is this an accurate read as well?
Yes, that is correct, Chair.
So I thought one of the things you said that was, I thought, like really interesting and really compelling in this report is that if we're really going to kind of invest in trying to make sure that people don't get kicked off healthcare because of bureaucratic red tape, if we're going to make sure that people who are eligible and are filing their paperwork, that's processed in a timely way, that they get hooked up and connected with the appropriate work programs, and their eligibility is assessed in a timely manner. If we're not going to delay or increase the wait times, that it could be up to, I think the number was over 700 new eligibility workers needed. That was the number I saw here. Was that correct?
That is.
I mean, that's a massive number.
Yes, it depends on what the reporting requirements will be, obviously, and that some of that is still to be determined, but that is one of the higher estimates that we have if the reporting requirements have to occur on a bi-monthly period.
I mean, that's like massive. It says 242 to 727 full-time SEEs, like 242 is on the low end. So basically between 21 million on the low end and 63.2 $2 million on the high end just in staffing, just to keep folks on the health care that they have every right to. But we would need to really figure out how to pay for that.
Correct.
That's pretty massive. Okay. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm fully following your extremely thorough memo. And then similarly, that the SNAP piece that we're also looking at, in addition to the work requirements, which it appears would be required between 71 full-time FTEs and 426 full-time FTEs to basically just to keep folks making sure that they can get access to food.
Correct.
And are those wasn't clear to me if this is cumulative or like the same individuals. So like the same people, or do we need 426 plus 727? Maybe that's a Rick Wani question.
Yes, I was going to say maybe Rick can answer that question for us.
Good afternoon, Chair Lawson-Remer, members of the board. So this would be in addition to our current staffing, and basically what's happening per the presentation on HR 1 is that for the individuals who are enrolled today in CalFresh, they will generate more work that our staff will have to do in order to stay on the program.
So that I fully understood. I think my question was just whether the SNAP work requirement fiscal impacts and the Medicaid work requirement fiscal impacts in terms of staffing. It was that the low end, for example, on SNAP was 71 additional people, and the low end on Medicaid was 242. Was it, so would we need 242 plus 71, or are these like the same people?
So the range between Medi-Cal and CalFresh for the additional work potential requirement would be 242 to 727, and that includes both programs.
Got it.
Our staff share work amongst programs.
That's helpful. And this is just like, I mean, that's massive. So how much would we be increasing, or how many folks do we currently have doing that work? So how much would this be an increase by?
So we have close to 3,000 staff in self-sufficiency services. About 1,900 are actually human service specialists. And so that would be a significant increase to our total workload and to our total staffing.
Like potentially like a 30% increase, more or less. It's a lot. Thank you. I mean, I think there's just so much in here that's really, really troubling and really disturbing and very upsetting. But I just felt like that piece on kind of one of our core jobs, and one of the things I'm most proud of that we've done over the last few years is cut through bureaucratic red tape of this county. You know, we've been one of the leading counties across California in reducing wait times and people, you know, getting their paperwork processed in a timely way. Thank you to our human services specialists. Shout out to the folks who've been doing all that work. And this is just like a huge setback, not to mention a massive hole in our budget, you know, but just on staffing, like $63 million just on staffing. And that's not even addressing the fact that we're also looking at kind of making sure I fully understand this on the SNAP piece, $150 million in potential co-share, plus $50 million in administrative costs. So that's like $200 million just to keep people getting their food benefits, acknowledging that 13,000 are going to get kicked off and won't get anything at all, just to keep everyone else on getting their benefits is like 150 plus 50. So like 200 million plus 63 million. That does not account for the direct impacts to our behavioral health budget that we're looking at. Am I just reading this all right? Because it's really bad.
It's very bad.
Okay.
This is a massive shift in funding from the federal government to local.
Could you say that for the microphone so my colleagues can hear you?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. What you're seeing and what you're assessing here in terms of the estimates are significant. This is a massive shift in costs from the federal government to local agencies. So this is something that all counties will be struggling with. We'll, of course, be looking to see what the state's reaction is as well, but this is a fundamental shift.
Okay, so Next question. This is actually kind of anticipating my colleague Supervisor Anderson is always very concerned about IHSS, as am I. But I do know that IHSS eligibility, isn't that also contingent on Medicaid eligibility? So how would these shifts in Medicaid eligibility determinations impact our IHSS program?
Yes, you are correct, Chair. So the eligibility for Medi-Cal, any of those requirements would impact, our IHSS population. Although the provisions specifically for the IHSS provider caps on overtime and mileage were not included in HR 1.
Right, because that's a state program. I mean, those are state issues. Yeah,
correct. So, I'm sorry, they didn't get included in the state budget. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I understood that that's clear. I was just more kind of making sure that I wasn't missing something. So if you're one of these 327,000 people who lose access or might lose access to Medi-Cal, you also could lose access to your IHSS
correct
services. So, which is really bad. I'm sure I'll have more questions, but let me just open to my colleagues, and I will continue as the conversation unfolds. Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you very much. I did have a couple questions that have been answered. So I just wanted clarity around the SNAP benefits in particular, and the cost sharing. And then on top of that, the administrative burden, just wanted to make sure that those were separate as they were laid out in the memo.
Yes, through the chair, those are separate.
Okay. I want to focus too on the recommendation that's before us, right? We discussed this board letter previously, and we carried over this recommendation with regard to notice. So I want to speak to that and just express my desire to notice as many CalFresh recipients as possible, especially because those are the most imminent changes that are before us. The changes in this bill kind of come in over the next 3 years, but folks will be experiencing different requirements, eligibility requirements, fairly quickly. So I would just like to say that I think that those notifications should be sent out as soon as possible with an explanation of new and upcoming changes based on HR 1 with a timeline explaining when the changes go into effect. I also would like to engage with, as we write out and formulate the communications plan, engage with CBOs to help us to assist in distributing notices or letting maybe some of their clients or folks know what is coming. Of course, we have the direct line, but I think it's important to include CBOs in that. So I look forward to reporting back with seeing the communications plan that you all come back to us with. But the last thing I'll say outside of just referencing our focus on IHSS, those impacts that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year and really trying to find ways to minimize those impacts. The state has decisions to make, and so we should be, I think, be proactive in as they shape their budget and what they're going to take up with regard to sharing costs with the county at this point. The feds, outside of the regulations that will come down, they've made their decisions, right? And so we have a much better idea of those impacts, but I would like to be at the front end of the conversations with the state as they decide what type of percentage that they will be engaging with counties with regard to cost sharing. So I'd just like to add that, and there's no motion, so I'll move the recommendation. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. And I'm glad Supervisor Montgomery Stepp brought up the fact about the state. I know we're very focused on the feds here and the big beautiful bill, but it needs to be pointed out the state spent $9 billion on Medi-Cal for non-U.S. citizens, $9 billion, and that's an annual number. $3 billion of that had to be borrowed, so we're paying interest on that money now as that's used. But I agree, we need to safeguard programs like SNAP for future generations, and really, I want people who really need it to get it. But the federal government is in $36 trillion in debt. The state gap between their revenue versus spending is $10 to $20 billion. They really don't know what it is, but it's between 10 and 20 billion. So cuts need to be made, but I don't really think these cuts are that draconian. The changes in SNAP and Medicaid are primarily to ensure that able-bodied single adults will volunteer or work up to 20 hours a week in order to receive benefits. And then the redemption portion, should people have to requalify to stay on these programs? And oh my gosh, it would take more work here at the county. But it really comes down to, do we want to take on that extra work? Or do we just want to leave these people on these programs? Which is worse? And I think, these programs tend to grow and grow and grow, and they get out of control, which is why, unfortunately, the programs like this they need to be cut, and nobody wants to make any of the cuts. There are currently 26,000 able-bodied adults without dependents in San Diego County who receive SNAP benefits. And this isn't about taking food out of people's mouths who actually need it. It's ensuring that the food goes to the people who do actually need it. So I think this item's unnecessary. I know the county is already going to be notifying recipients of any changes. So for those reasons, I'm not going to be supporting the item. Thank you.
Supervisor Paloma-Aguirre.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking Chairwoman and the Vice Chair for bringing this initiative forward last month. I think that with that initiative and this one, I think it'll bring a lot of necessary hope to the residents that are facing these callous cuts. I think I can use a point of privilege here. I've spent the last 6 months talking to these families, door to door. They're hundreds of families that are vulnerable, that are struggling to put food on the table. They're struggling to keep a roof over their head. They're terrified that they will lose their in-home care services. I actually spoke with some of the folks that were suffering chronic illnesses and disabilities, and they don't know what they're going to do. So it's extremely concerning, I agree, because we're going to feel all of that impact. District 1 has one of the highest needs out of the entire district. Over 140,000 of our residents depend on one form or another of these programs. And, I think it's extremely concerning. So I do have a question for staff. So as we perform these analyses over the next several months, such as the number of Medi-Cal, CalFresh, recipients by district, are we going to look at specifics on the numbers of the impacts by district?
Through the chair, if I can ask Dr. Giardina what type of information we'll have available. Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, we can certainly look at the impacts by district.
That would be great. I appreciate that data to be analyzed as well. And with that, I will support that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just following up. I'm keep reading this. So the other thing I saw was impacts around the HUD programming. And if you could speak a little bit about the impact. I mean, I'm seeing potentially a 44% reduction to HUD funding. If we have any greater clarity on what that looks like for our housing programs. And it's okay if you, I don't want to make you scramble. So there was a lot in this memo. It was a very good memo.
Yeah, so just trying to, Chair Lawson-Remer, thank you for the question. I'm wondering, just trying to understand the question about what about the program cut you're interested in. Apologize for that.
Just want to make sure that I was fully understanding that there could be 10,000 folks that are here in San Diego County that receive Section 8 vouchers that are potentially implicated by the HUD funding cuts.
Yeah, thank you. And that's related to the federal appropriations process, the annual appropriations process. President's proposed budget included significant cuts to the HUD budget, and it really relates to taking all of these programs, combining it into one, and then allowing states to reallocate the money the funding as they see fit, with a cap on 2 years. That's something that we're going to see play out over the next number of weeks as members of Congress debate the upcoming fiscal year appropriations process. So that's not necessarily reality right now. That is what is potentially or what's been proposed.
Okay, thank you. I just had to say a couple comments. I think in terms of specifically to the recommendation of this item, if this does move forward today, I think it would be helpful for staff to come consult with board offices for input on, and I think Supervisor Montgomery Stepp had some clear ideas on how we would implement. I think it would be useful to get some front end input from board offices as you put together this plan to come back on the 9th. I think Supervisor Geary also seemed to suggest she had some thoughts. So just front loading, getting input from board offices as that plan is put together, I think would be really helpful. And that would certainly be my intent in bringing this forward. I think big picture, I just think we have a massive, massive crisis on our hands. This is like just a crisis of pretty unprecedented proportions. And we are going to need to really figure out what are we going to do about this, or we are going to have hundreds of thousands of San Diegans without health care, hundreds of thousands of San Diegans without food, without health care and without food, in one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And from my perspective, that is immoral, it's unethical, it's a human rights crisis. And I would say, I think we have every obligation to do everything we can to safeguard our community against this attack. So I think I am going to be very focused over the coming months of putting together that plan and like what can we do, because this is not a short-term crisis, and we might need a bridge plan, but we're going to need a long-term plan, and that's what I'm going to be looking to put together. So again, thank you for the team for your work, and I'm happy to second the motion. Any additional comments? If not, go for a vote.
Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We now go to committee reports. So just for Supervisor Geary's information, at every meeting, I ask every supervisor if you have any report backs from any committees that you are serving on. You will have many with all your many committees. So if anyone wants to provide a brief update or report on progress or share any pertinent information, please go ahead and do so.
Well, on the one board that I'm still on, the NCTD, we had a meeting last week and we got an update.
Hold on, sir. Can we just, in the chamber, if we could be respectful and quiet as we exit? Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Supervisor Desmond.
Well, we had an NCT update from Sandag on the 2025 plan, and I don't know, it was good, it was informative, but I guess it's still, they still have to go out with the EIR on it now, but it was, I think it closed yesterday or the day before, or sometime last week on that for public input, but it was a good report. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, do we have any additional non-agenda public comment?
We do, thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 15 remaining requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 7 in person and 8 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'd like to invite forward Laura Luxembourg, Alicia Morrison, and Paul Dunlap. If I've called your name, please come forward. And I will be calling you groups of 3, so please listen for your name. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Luxembourg, and I'm the founder of Subi Foundation. Subi was recently awarded an RFQ with the County of San Diego, which successfully proceeded to contract. The project scoped involved the disposition and removal of 930 pallets of PPE in your warehousing, the material equivalent to more than 102,000 cubic feet or 43 shipping containers. Our plan was and remains to ensure that 100% of this material stays out of our local landfills by repurposing it as humanitarian aid across our southern border, supporting communities in need. While we have been awaiting clarification on 3 outstanding questions related to the contract, we were surprised to learn by a phone call on Friday that the county's purchasing and contracting department has decided to reverse course, transferring the already awarded contract to a junk hauling company, one that reportedly disposes of materials into our landfills. This outcome not only contradicts environmental sustainability goals, but also misses a critical opportunity to provide aid where it is needed. I'm requesting the supervisors continue this conversation with me so we may resolve this issue in a way that aligns with our shared environmental and humanitarian commitments.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Alicia Morrison. Good afternoon and congratulations to Supervisor Aguirre. Do you ever get the impression that society just doesn't give a damn anymore? Is that a viable reason to ask why there was only 21.1% turnout for the special election for the District 1 supervisor? 370,801 registered voters, and we can't even get 25% of them to turn out. I've asked myself, why is that? And I hope each of you supervisors have pondered the same question. Speaking for myself, I really didn't give a damn until 2016. Now I ask myself, is it too late? Ever since that year, I've been watching the news more, reading more and educating myself, having more conversations and trying to understand and analyze those conversations, only to have the afterthought, I should have said this, or why didn't I ask this? I'm learning there are politicians and there are leaders. Politicians promise to fight to make change. Too often, all I see is politicians who fight too much with each other, only to get nothing done. Or they are fighting for their own personal agendas. Please, enough with the word fight. As a voter, I want my elected officials to be leaders. Leaders who are people who want to work hard to make change for the better of all people. I have written to my elected officials, sometimes only getting a prescripted response from aides that don't even offer a hint of help. Oh, but I do receive their requests to contribute to their campaigns all the time. Politicians do a really good job asking me for money so they can continue to fight for my rights. Connect with your constituents and form strong bonds. Show them you care. Help them when they reach out to you. Together, let's work to restore faith in the phrase, we the people. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite forward 3 additional speakers, allegedly Audra, Michael Brando, and Parita Javier. And also invite forward William Adams.
My person uses the name Audra. I love what just happened today because it gives me an opportunity to totally expose CPS for what they're doing because you know what? They added me to the reports. And you know what they did? They lied in the reports and they slandered me and then they entered it into the record in the courts to ban me from being near not only the children but the mother. And you know what's happened since that family came here to address you guys, and then Monica, your staff, pretended to come out and help, right? It's so interesting. They accused the mother of sexual assault. How fun is that? And then you know what they did? They went back to supervised visits, and now they're on a path to terminating parental rights. How cool is that? And they're going to adopt them out, right? It's going to be so good. Then they're going to be trafficked to the Dominican Republic. Hey, that's all right, right? Because it's all about the money. It's not really about keeping a family together. It's about alienating somebody who's doing everything in their power to get their kids back. And you know why they took the kids? Because they were asking for help. And you know what happened instead? They manufactured a domestic violence case saying that the children are in danger, all because the mother had postpartum and was asking for help. And you know what they did instead? They lied to the mother when she went to Missouri to go protect her children. You know what Missouri did? Because CPS here was like, hey, Missouri, we need your help to kidnap these kids. They said, there's no domestic violence. We're not going to engage in that. And so you know what they did? They manipulated the mother to come back. We're going to send out marshals to go and arrest you. You better get back here. We're not going to take your kids. And then you know what they did? As soon as she got back, put her in jail, took her daughters, and now they're set to be adopted out. Thank you guys for all of that you do. But you know what? That ain't going to fucking happen because all of it is going to be exposed. I have receipts, and you're going to be...
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Child traffickers.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Adams, and I'm the managing member of El Monte Nature Preserve and speaking on its behalf today. Our membership is made up entirely of San Diego County residents. We've been working on potential projects for our 500-acre property in Lakeside for almost 30 years. Almost 3 miles of the original San Diego River channel runs down the middle of our property, 2 miles directly below the El Capitan Dam and Reservoir. In 2003, with the county's help, we entitled a recreational use for 2 public golf courses, completing all necessary elements for a certified EIR and major use permit. Just as we were about to grass in the first course, the entire project was squashed by the city of San Diego, blaming drought conditions when they withdrew our rights to use groundwater from our own wells for irrigation. Since then, we've been pursuing entitlements to mine the valley for some of its 60 million ton deposit of high quality construction grade aggregates. That effort was squashed once again by the city when it flooded our property in 2023 with 7 billion gallons of water released from the El Capitan Reservoir. Most, if not all, of that mineable sand is now saturated with floodwaters left over from the 2023 flood event. In that wake-up call, we were on notice that our property has a very strategic location and maybe a more natural use. One reminder was that we were going to be flooded every time the dam released water, as it apparently must continue to do so to prevent this dam's failure and any subsequent downstream catastrophic flooding. A second reminder was that there was a better use for our property than as a sand mine. That use is as a water retention buffer and recharge basin for all future flood events. At that conclusion, we abandoned all future efforts to secure any mining permits. The property needs to be cleaned up and graded for its efficient use, but its public benefit will best be served as a storage and recharge basin, slowing down floodwaters.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Thank you. Final call for Paul Dunlap, Michael Brando, or Parita Javier. Not seeing any movement in the chamber. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Hi, good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Madison, and I'm here today as a concerned resident and a mom of young kids. I want to share some information about these new nicotine pouches by brands like Zyn, Velo, and On. And honestly, I find them really troubling. They're small, they come in sweet flavors, and they're designed to look like mints or gum. Kids can just slip one in between their lips and gums. No smoke, no smell, and no one would ever know. According to the 2023 National Youth Tobacco Survey, these pouches are now the 4th most used tobacco product among teens. Sales jumped more than 500% in just a few years. That kind of growth doesn't happen by accident. It's marketing, it's accessibility, and it's the false idea that these products are safe just because they're labeled as, quote, tobacco-free. But they're not safe. They still contain nicotine, which is addictive and harmful, especially for young, developing brains. What's worse is that a lot of these products don't even have proper warning labels, so families can't make informed decisions. This is especially affecting some of our most vulnerable communities. In California, Latino neighborhoods have 32% more tobacco retailers than average. And youth in those communities are being targeted with marketing that makes these products look harmless and even fun. As a parent, I try to talk to my kids early and often about these things. But we need help. We need local policies that limit how these products are sold and marketed, especially to young people. Please take this seriously, and let's get ahead of this before another generation gets hooked on nicotine. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
I want to go ahead and remind you, before I got that restraining order, I came over to the Board of Supervisors multiple times to take a look at my termination. That I was on the books for the years that I was coming over to you guys, begging you guys for help, begging you guys to take a look at it, begging you guys to go ahead and see why I was on the books for 7 years without anything. And then when you go ahead and file the restraining order, you decided to go ahead and give me disability. Not because I wanted it. You sent down people to go talk to my therapist so that you could fill out the papers however you needed to do to commit the fraud to get me the disability, thinking that this would go ahead and shut me up. So the same time I got the restraining order, I got a disability check where I'm going to get a check for the rest of my life. Why? Because you guys do not want to address my concerns that I had before we went to the vote by mail system, and then you don't even want to even address them now. You don't even want to go ahead and take a look and see whether or not what I'm saying is 100% accurate or not. You don't even want to go ahead and acknowledge the Heritage Foundation reports that go ahead and state the fact that MS-13 units tried to do it. They did a poor job. You have Peterson up in friggin' Jersey who decided to drop off 800 ballots in a commercial mailbox. That's how he got caught. So as long as you don't make a mistake in committing voter fraud, you're able to go ahead and steal thousands of ballots. And if you want to go ahead and funnel them through the homeless facilities, it's a great location. So I encourage Donald Trump of cutting all the funding to all that stuff because we need to have safe and secure elections. Now, if he wants to go ahead and commit voter fraud, not using that system, and commit it a different way since no one wants to go ahead and address it, then I would prefer not those NGOs getting it, other NGOs getting it.
Thank you. For the record, the speaker was Gambler Hermes and Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes a request for non-agenda public communication this afternoon.
Okay, I'd like to turn to closed session public comment.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 6 requests to speak on closed session matters. The closed session agenda includes 1 matter. Individuals that have requested to speak in closed session must provide comments related to the matter listed. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Again, we have 6 requests to speak, 3 in person and 3 requesting to speak by phone, and we did not receive any comments on this item. I'd like to invite forward our speakers in person, Consuelo, Truth, and Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Consuelo here. Okay, so closed session, possible litigation, that could mean just about anything with this board. Maybe it's about the way you violate your own rules, telling people what they can and cannot say.
Can you please pause her time? Reminder that this is closed session only. So the topic is conference with labor negotiators.
Conference with labor negotiators?
That is the topic for closed session. So please make sure your comments address
So it's not litigation?
No, it says conference with labor negotiators.
Okay, I didn't read that. Okay, so then it's then it's not about how you abuse your power in districts full of low-income, hardworking people, people burdened with homelessness, crime, and government neglect. It's not about that. Okay, I got it.
Okay, please, if you are going to comment, please keep your comments focused to this, or we're going to have to forfeit your time. Thanks.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, well. So, okay, well, this is, okay. So, yeah, law, okay. So they're bound, it's, okay, because, go ahead. No, go ahead, you can hold that up. You can hold that up. Okay, so this system is not here to uplift humanity. It's built to suppress. You've made that clear with every shady deal, every hidden vote, every corporate handout, every shake behind closed doors. I just want to be here to remind you that everything that you guys do will be exposed. The lies, the backroom deals, the betrayals. You can only operate in the shadows for so long. The people are waking up, and when enough of us stand up, this whole thing falls apart. Enjoy your closed session.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, regarding the conference with labor negotiators, I don't think it makes much difference because you're not addressing inflation, and you're going to make damn sure that the main people that get protected, insulated against inflation, is you and your huge salaries. I don't think this is going to go well for the employees or any labor negotiations at all. And I'm not surprised someone's suing you for something regarding that. But you'll screw them all anyway and give them the very least amount possible to keep them from just leaving the building and not doing your toilets or whatever this is about. Oh, by the way, there's nothing in this book about what exactly this is about. That was not specific. I have no way of I'd like to know more about what this is about, but it's not here. That's bullshit. That's not transparent.
Next speaker, please.
Hey, it's Truth. No to any and all negotiations with labor, aka the political unions, because the corruption runs very deep, as I've been covering all day. That article, the wonderful article, how the affordable housing became a cash machine for the political unions, revealed the tip of the iceberg. It did not cover the binational connections and why some people will never hold Mexico accountable, or why there's so many expensive stack packs, and why we continually have labor negotiations and campaign donations, specifically under Citizens United. Those who once yelled loudly that it was about the corporations, well, they did not want us to look at the nonprofits and unions. So the county needs to end all project labor agreements now, because benefiting the big political union action committees is no different than benefiting big corporations. We know these backroom labor negotiations and deals are why county government projects are slow and expensive. SEIOU, and I did not bring the purple pom-pom, they would have loved that. The purple shirts should receive nothing that they ask for. Their top overpaid minions like David Huerta and Krista Irving were out on the streets causing trouble. David was arrested as deserved. And this is because the state, and especially Tara, refuse to follow the Constitution for the United States of America, which is what they do not take an oath to. It's very different. They take an oath to the Constitution to the United States. It doesn't even exist. So no to even one single penny in salary increases via rating our reserves to any of these well-funded political organizations. It's also been a disgrace how disrespectful some of them have repeatedly been to the most respectful supervisor here, Jim, followed by Monica. Paloma has also made me very concerned today that illegals may be working for the county. Are they part of the purple shirts yet? And let's end on a fun clip.
The sewage crisis.
Some people think it's a convenient political tool to use to get elected.
Nah, that would never happen. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll take a look at the request. We'll start with
All above. To paraphrase Pete the Cat, it's another labor conference. As I said before, the Teamsters refused to pick up Chula Vista's garbage in sympathy with the strike 3,000 miles away in Boston. Chula Vistans do not know the details of what goes on in Boston, probably don't care much either, are in no way responsible for what happens there. Although I'm sure many of them would have signed a petition without the union resorting to what the ethical strike. Don't think the Teamsters are involved, but please have the guts to say no to these people. You have a budget deficit, act like it. On the other hand, if the DA has a role in this, it might be prudent to have an extra reserve for defending yourself against penal code violations like improper grand jury reports or animal cruelty or maybe cruelty to other people. I would also appreciate a short 10-word summary of the cases or the causes. How many of the 150-odd cases relating to the Polinsky Center abuses will you fess up to, by the way? And how much will continually putting off discussion cost us in money interest, if not having the book totally thrown at you guys? And our reputation. Guess you don't care much. Speak of helping small business, I really hope the screams of abused minors don't get loud enough that tourists with kids at arm's length in the car or hotel and miss out on the fun and just don't visit at home.
Thank you. And Audra, please come forward. Thank you. Apologize for that.
I don't know why you did every other one but that one. My person uses the name Audra. No, Claudia, I did not forget about you. She should not be in this position. She is allowing fraud and perjury to be entered into the record by her own staff into the courts, like this morning at Meadowlark in Judge Alex Calero's courtroom. So, no, she should not be making any decisions when she is actively engaged, like the rest of you, in trafficking children for profit, allowing them to be abused and have it be hidden. I have receipts of a young girl telling me about her vagina hurting, okay? And then telling me who was doing it. And then Rady's and this county, CWS, along with county council, are omitting things like that. Right? Oh, but yeah, then we got to get her out of here because we can't have somebody that little girl trusts. I'm just wondering, have you guys ever experienced having a child be ripped apart from their parent and totally be very, very, very upset, and then have people say that you are manufacturing the crying, you are training your daughter to cry? So you're cueing her when she's crying, when she's leaving your arms, and then getting into a county vehicle, right? All upset, throwing a temper tantrum, and then you know what happens? They're like, listen, to the mom, we need you to help us. Help them transition better so that they can go back to the respite care or just the caregiver that they have that's abusing them without crying. We need to make it easier on the caregiver because the girls are upset when they have to be ripped apart from their family. I highly suggest you guys engage in that. It's very traumatic for all involved. Good job. Fuck you.
Thank you. And I will return to those that requested to speak by phone.
So, it is clear and obvious that you did everything you can to cover up voter fraud. That is obvious. Now we just need to find a person that will go ahead and go after it. See, I'm going to continue to go ahead and send out requests, wanting to know how many people were canceled after the Newsom election, after their votes were counted. And then I want to know the people that were dead, was that registered as fraud? Or was that just office cleanup? Because they clearly voted. Did you go ahead and record that? No, I'm not allowed to even find out if there's any names, right? NBR regulations. NBR regulations put all the responsibility on you. And if you're doing everything you can to silence the one person that was fired over this and make sure that his voice does not get heard, then yes, you are committing major fucking crimes. And if you do not want me to start using what I think of you and how I view you, then I will expect a fucking phone call from each and every one of your offices telling me how you're going to go ahead and look into my claims. Or I hope you end up with a celly with a 10-inch fucking dick. And teach you who's a fucking bitch. So am I going to hear anything from you? Or are you going to be silent little tiny fucking cocksuckers? Which one is it? Are you going to go ahead and investigate voter fraud, which is part of your fucking job? Or are you going to fucking ignore it because it benefits you financially and it fucking cripples everyone around? Throwing people, I can't even, what Audra just told me.
Thank you, Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on the closed session matters.
Okay, thank you very much. We now proceed with our adjournments in memory. Today's first adjournment will be presented by Supervisor Aguirre in memory of Madviel Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to adjourn today's board meeting in memory of 8-year-old Madviel Rodriguez, who tragically lost his life on Sunday, July 13th, while riding a scooter in his family's neighborhood. Lovingly known as Chubby to everyone, Madviel was everybody's little brother. Chubby's passion was baseball. He played with his teammates on the Rhinos team, who miss him tremendously already. He was happiest when he was on the field. He was also a huge fan of the San Diego Padres. Anyone would be able to find Chubby a mile away by his radiant smile. He loved to help his family and anyone who needed it along the way. We should all be as loving as Chubby was. My heart goes out to his parents, Marla and Edgar, brothers Maximiliano and Mael, and the community, our community, who is incredibly heartbroken and mourning this untimely loss. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then today's last adjournment will be presented by Vice Chair Montgomery Stepp in memory of Councilmember Steve Failla.
Thank you so much. I'd like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of husband, father, pastor, coach, and public servant, Sativi Steve Failla, who passed away recently. Steve was born on March 1st, 1975, in American Samoa, the youngest of 8 siblings. Just 6 months later, his family relocated to San Diego, where he would grow up and make his lifelong home. His parents, who spoke limited English, communicated with him in Samoan, passing down their values through actions and community, even as they navigated the challenges of economic hardship. Despite limited resources, Steve's childhood was filled with love and support. His older siblings stepped into roles as guardians, showing up for him at school events and providing a sense of stability and pride. Being the youngest in a large family, he developed a unique closeness to his siblings, full of admiration and love. As he entered Patrick Henry High School, Steve worked hard in school and pushed himself academically in hopes of attending college. He briefly enrolled in Cuyamaca College, and this chapter of his life became a point of reflection and guidance he later passed on to his children. After college, Steve began working with one of his brothers at JCPenney, which helped strengthen a sibling relationship he deeply cherished. Steve's relationship with his father was particularly special. While his siblings helped raise him, his father was a source of unconditional support and quiet wisdom. Losing his father to cancer was a turning point, but Steve found strength and direction through the mentorship of others in his faith community. In time, Steve met Lauren, who would become his wife and life partner. Together, they raised 2 sons, both of whom graduated from high school and are now navigating their own educational journeys. With his children growing into young adulthood, Steve turned his attention even more intentionally toward service. Steve became a youth pastor, a football coach at Helix High School, a retail manager at Sprouts, and eventually a city council member in Lemon Grove. He didn't come to public service in public office the traditional way. Rather than focusing on fundraising, Steve took the approach of going door to door, introducing himself and listening to his residents. This approach gained voter approval and secured his seat as an official city council member. When he was sworn into the Lemon Grove City Council in December, Steve brought a focus on creating a safer, cleaner city and on lifting up working families. He believed in leadership through example, and he sought to create lasting positive change by putting people first. Steve Failla was not only remembered for the roles he held, but also for the person that he was, compassionate, dedicated, and rooted in faith and love. His presence was deeply felt in every space he entered, whether it was on the football field, in the church, or at a city council meeting. His passing is a profound loss for Lemon Grove and beyond. Steve is survived by his wife, Lauren, and their 2 sons. Thank you so much for being here. Along with a host of other relatives and loved ones, we extend our deepest condolences to all the lives that he has touched. God rest his soul. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will proceed basically immediately to closed session. We only have one item, so if we can all just go, that's all right. If we can just go straight to closed session. Oh, you got to present. Okay. So like 5 minutes, we'll go to closed session. Okay, thank you.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider the matter listed under item 11 of today's session agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported after the conclusion of closed session today. The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, August 26, 2025. County Council will now report out the actions taken in closed session.
Thank you. Today, July 22nd, 2025, the Board of Supervisors met in closed session. All members were present. The meeting started at 3:55 p.m. for closed session and ended at 4:06 p.m. There are no reportable actions. That concludes the report.
Thank you. The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, August 26, 2025.